Hey everybody, the problem on here is now going to graph the cosecant function. Now before we've already talked about graphing sine functions, graphing cosine functions, and we said whenever it came to this graph here, the cosecant function, it should use the sine function to go ahead and graph out this part here. So first off, let's go ahead and take a look at the information that we need to have from the values they gave us here. This one, and this part. So we know first off on the back, and then move that out the way. On the back here, we have 2. So it means we know for our vertical shift, we're going to go up 2. So wherever we are, everything moves up 2. It's not going to be bad. So then we go ahead and take a look at anything else that we have. So we all know that C and K is given to us. Because remember here, even though we didn't actually do the cosecant part, it still works the same way as sine and cosine. So here we still have K theta plus C right here for the inside part, and then the plus H in the back. And again, vertical shift is the H. It's another thing of saying vertical shift, H. All right, so with this, our C, you should be able to see that's negative pi over 4. And we know that the K is 1/2. So everybody should see there's an understood 1 right here, and there's a 2 there, so 1/2 is your K. So here we have a C, we have a K, so that means it's going to change our period, and it's going to change our phase shift. Because we know, again, period deals with 2 pi over K. And we know phase shift deals with negative C over K. And again, remember, you're going to have to remember this for a final exam and all that good stuff, because they're not going to give that to you. You have to know it. So here, we're going to work these out. If we put 2 pi here, our K again is 1/2. So we do that 1 over 2 there. And then hopefully everybody remembers that how to divide by a fraction, which is keep, change, flip. So we have 2 pi here. Change this to multiplication and we flip it to 2 over 1. So your period is 4 pi. 4 pi. Okay. So whenever we do our tick marks and everything, it has to match up with our 4 pi. And hopefully you guys remember how to do that part. And we'll look at that in a few seconds to make sure everybody's good with that. But then also our phase shift, we have the negative C over K. So it's understood as negative already. And then a negative pi over 4 is your C, divided by K, which is 1/2. Right? And so then we do the keep, change, flip part. Well, first off, we have 2 negatives. So if 2 negatives are here, we know that becomes 1 giant plus right there. So we're dealing with actually pi over 4 divided by 1/2. And again, we do keep, change, flip. Keep here, change multiplication, flip this. You should be able to cross reduce so you don't have big numbers here. You should be able to cross reduce. So here, the 4 and that 2 cross reduce. So that's a 1. This is a 2 right here. So we're moving pi over 2. And again, you should remember what direction we're moving in. And here, because it's pi over 2, it's going to the right. Now, this part here, remember, if you're looking at the C and trying to tell what direction it's going in, remember it's opposite of what's going on here. Just like our regular transformations for the regular functions, like all the other functions we had, if it was opposite of whatever was inside the parenthesis. So again here, inside the parenthesis, here inside our parentheses, it was opposite of it. So if this was negative, it went to the right. If it was positive, it went to the left. And so here, if we looked at it at this part for C, we know that negative pi over 4, it's negative, so it should go to the right. And then down here, this the answer that we have for phase shift tells us how far right to go. Correct? Right? Okay, so that's the biggest part. That's the biggest chunk that we have to do. Now, that's the biggest work. But also let's make sure we do this part too, because I didn't remember to do this part. Well, I need to remember to do this part. We have new tick marks because we know our original tick marks, whenever we've been graphing everything out for the sine and cosine function, we've been dealing with 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And even when we made our table, when we looked at the table on the earlier parts of this video, these videos, we actually said, okay, when it came to the cosecant, we marked out the pi over 4s, and we had the zeros, the pi over 2, the pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. So we're kind of going back to what we did with sine and cosine. So here, these were our original tick marks that we dealt with, and we had values for them. But then we said, okay, we have to divide each one of these by our k to figure out what the new tick mark is going to look like. So when we move everything around, we're going to deal with just this new tick mark and not the tick mark that is the original, not these, but the new ones. Now, with our k again, we know that's right there. So we're going to have to divide each one of these tick marks by k and to find out what our new tick mark is going to be. So here, I'm going to do this vertically. So I'm going to do everything here so everything's not crunched together and it's like confusing or even more confusing than what it already seems like. Because I know people are like, yes, Mr. Hall, this is really confusing. This is so much work. Oh my gosh, I'm so lost. And it's okay. It's okay. We're going to work through this and we're going to practice it and we're going to make sure we have it. So we're not going to just leave you at the mercy of the math and then you just cry, and then you get sad and tears and everything of that sort. All right, so we have all of these. We take the original tick marks, which is 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, and we're going to divide them by the k. So for this part here, again, we know 0 divided by anything is just 0. So it starts off with 0 like normal. Pi over 2 and 1/2. We do keep, change, flip. And again, we should be able to get things to cancel out, cross reduce. 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 2 one time. So we're left with just pi, right? Correct. Next one we do keep, change, flip again. And so that's pi times 2, which is 2 pi. So not bad. We can do this. We got this, right? All right, let's continue on with this last two pieces. Keep, change, flip again. Should be able to cross reduce here. So 2 goes into 1 time, 2 goes into 1 time. So that's just 3 pi. Oh, let's change the color back to red. Sorry, my fault. Don't want to confuse anybody. And they'll be like, Mr. Hall, why'd you use red and then blue? I'm so confused. I'm so lost. Don't get lost. Don't be lost. So we have, again, 2 pi times 2 over 1. And that gives you 4 pi. So our new tick marks are going to be 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi. And we're going to take a look at the original graph and then, well, not the original graph. We're going to take a look at what we have. We know what the sine function should look like. We're going to do with our transformations, all that good stuff. All right, so we're going to do that in the next video. All right, here we go.